All right, everybody. I think I'm ready to get started. I like to start on time. So that's what we're going to do. So it's 8 o'clock. So let's get started. So welcome to our webinar this evening. We have a few people on live, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And tonight we're talking about what I originally named Beat the Bloat and Lose the Weight, because so many people come to me and they start with, Alison, I just need to lose weight. I don't know what to do. Nothing I try is working. I don't know what to do. And so what really it came down to is that when we have these symptoms like bloating, like pain, like gas, acid reflux, all of these GI issues, there's so much more at stake when you're trying to lose weight. It's not as simple as calories in or calories out. So I wanted to talk specifically about how our gut health impacts our weight and affects everything else that we do. So if you have questions, let me know. There's a Q&A section, or there's also a chat feature here. So just let me know, and I think I'll be able to see any questions that you guys have type in. And then at the end, I'll open it up for Q&A session. So let's get started. So what is IBS? It's just really a generic term for irritable bowel syndrome. And it has a range of constipation, diarrhea, both mucus, blood, pain, gas, bloating. So there's so many things. So you can have IBS, or IBD is another term that is used to diagnose people with IBDC, IBDD, IBD. Like, it just gets really crazy the way diagnoses are going. So let's just say IBS in this conversation is more of a general term to describe if you're having gastrointestinal system symptoms that are affecting how you're feeling, how your body is functioning. So this is me. Hi, I'm Dr. Alison. I am a functional medicine physician, and I am a leader within the doTERRA essential oils. I've been in practice officially for 10 years now, and I have my own health struggles. And I love that partially because I live this. I know what it's like. I know it's not easy. And I actually, a couple weeks ago, called my friend, Maureen Lansky. You hear me talk about her a lot. She does Cooking Healthy Academy and weight coaching as well. So I called her, I said, Maureen, I just need to lose weight. I can't do it. I just need accountability. And we're talking, I'm like, I just need to be on my plan. I know what it is. Help me be accountable. I literally have to pay money to somebody to eat food and eat to plan. Otherwise, it's Oreos all day long. Like, I don't care. So we went a week and nothing was really changing. And I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, forgot to mention, I have this really severe bowel disease. I think it's colitis. I have gallbladder issues. And she's like, oh my God, Alison, we should have started there. Like, so many women, when they're looking for help with weight loss, are so focused on the superficial and the pain and the shame of their weight and their body type that they're completely ignoring their own health symptoms. And hello, I'm guilty. I'm one of them. And I just thought that was so funny because I know better than that. So another story with that too is that my husband was struggling losing weight and struggling with GI issues, severe acid reflux. And we tried for years and years, but it came down to we had to diagnose him with small intestine bacterial overgrowth. So his issue was more of an infection than it was a weight issue or a GI issue. So it's just really interesting that someone can actually present with the same symptoms, but their underlying cause is so completely different. All right. So gut health and weight loss is what really true health is. So let's start with calories. I wrote that they're a lie because weight loss does not equal calories in versus calories out. Now, calories matter, don't get me wrong, but the problem is that most people aren't eating enough calories. So I posted it today in my Facebook group, The Daily Dose with Dr. Alison. Like, are you tracking your food? I think it's so important not to judge yourself, but to learn. Do it for 3 days to 5 days, like on a normal week, and see how you're feeling. See how many calories you're actually getting in. I had someone promise me last week, oh, no. I'm eating like 1,500 calories, 2,000 calories, I promise you. And when it came down to it, she was only eating 900 calories. And she was like, I'm so fatigued and my hair is falling out and I don't know what to do. Well, how about we eat some food? And then once we know what your calorie baseline is of what you're traditionally eating, we can play with that. Where do we need to add in more? Where can we cut out? What types of calories are you eating? Now, if we're eating, like I said, Oreos all day long, that's a totally different calorie than green beans or spinach. So don't go based off of calories. Track what you're eating, look at those macros, but let's just really make sure that you're getting what's right for your body. Don't automatically think, I need to eat under 1,000 calories to lose weight. The truth is that you probably need to be eating 1,200 to 1,600. And if you're really working out, and again, depending on your body type, you might need to be eating 1,800 calories to 2,200 calories. So starvation, this is now we're going to launch into that. Starvation is not the answer for weight loss. Low calories is not the answer for weight loss. And if you have gut issues, calories are a completely different story because you're not digesting your food like the average, well, maybe you are the average person, but I want to say like a healthy person. You're not digesting, you're not absorbing your vitamins and minerals like a healthy person, and you're not assimilating. Your cells can't use them. The cells become hardened and have a calcium shell. So you're not even using as much as what you're eating. So you might need to be eating more just to get more good nutrition in you. And then we have resources. So stop spending money on the get skinny quick, the products, the pills, the food, the patches, I saw an ad, I screenshotted it, I was going to put in here, but I didn't. It was, oh, just take this probiotic and you'll beat the bloat. That's absolutely not true, but they're playing to, ooh, if I could fit in my jeans, I'll do better. And I think the other problem that most of my people come into is, oh, this blog, I follow this really big doc and this really big functional medicine person and this weight loss coach, and they're all amazing. This one said ashwagandha, this one said this one. And you start buying one little piece of the puzzle every month, and it doesn't fit because it doesn't fit your body. And then lastly, food, which is the thing that we tend to focus on when we're thinking about weight loss. And it really comes down to, how do you know which foods to eat, which ones to avoid, how and when do you eat? So another favorite story, my husband and I have been going through healing processes for a long time. A couple of years ago, I was learning about intermittent fasting and the research, and I dove head first. I was like, intermittent fasting is the way to go for everyone. This is amazing. So we both decided to do it. He lost 20 pounds. I think I gained about 20 because I got up really high, and I was like, what the hell just happened to my body? How does he feel so good and I feel so sick? This just isn't fair. So it depends on your genetics, your blood type, your hormone type, your blood sugar balance type, and so much more. So don't feel bad when we have gut issues, disruption, IBS, that if your friends can do keto and you try it and you gain a ton of weight and your hair falls out, like, it's not for you. Or they go completely paleo and your skin goes yellow, like, it's okay because that diet's not for you. Like, let's find the food style that fits for you. Okay. So these are my personal 6 pillars of gut health. And I wanted to go through each one of them, but it's really not important when we're talking about weight loss. This is something we can do on a personalized side, but I wanted you to have this because there's so much more to it than, again, calories in and calories out. What's your proteins, what your macros, how much are you exercising? It's so completely different. So the number one thing that we look at is infection. Then we go to digestion. So are you actually breaking down your food? And 90% of the time, you're not. And I'll give you some tricks and tips for that one too. Food, like we talked about, how, what, when, where, what type. Inflammation is a really, really interesting topic that affects the brain as well, and the lining of the gut. Structure, which is where I like to talk about leaky gut, cell walls, and all of the poop conversations. And then immune and neurological. So what that means, the GALT is a gut-associated lymphoid tissue. So we have our own separate lymph system and immune system in our gut. And the ENS is the nervous system that lives within our gut, and it can be completely separated. It has its own brain. And they've done research on World War II veterans who had some of these nerves severed, but their gut was still working. Why is there still all of this motion in the gut if they're not connected to the brain? Well, this is how they discovered that it has its own nervous system. So you can see there's a lot going on here that can affect how we lose weight and how we digest food. This is a sexy slide, right? So this is the brain, we call it axis. And so most people know the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA. But when we're talking about gut health and we're talking about weight loss, we have this, and there is so much more in this slide. We have to think about the thyroid, the liver, the immune system, the adrenals, overall gut health, and even the ovaries, our testicles, if there's any men here tonight. So we need to not just go, how many calories are you eating? Just take the shake. You will lose weight, I guarantee it. We have to go, well, how are all these other organs functioning? What else is going on with the rest of the body? So let's start with pillar number 1, which is infection. Super easy to figure out. You do a blood test, a stool test. You see over here on the right-hand side, I have testing. Organic acids is a urine test, and it will test the byproducts of what your body is getting rid of. So if you have, say, E. coli, the list on the left, or H. pylori, and it's making a ton of byproducts as it's eating up everything in your body, it's going to come out in your urine. We could test it through the blood, and then breath test is great for SIBO or H. pylori as well. Most people know parasites with stool infections. Those are the easy ones to find. We can have overgrowth of normal but harmful bacteria like yeast, like E. coli. I highlighted Clostridia. I don't think you can see this if I'm not highlighting it, but I'm sorry. Why did I highlight this one? It's because, spotlight, psychosis, spectrum, depression, and behavioral. Now, what does that mean to you? What that means is, most importantly, we find this with children who are put on the autism spectrum, Asperger's, who are having violent behaviors. And what they find out is that C. diff that you pick up in the hospital, because it's just a normal rampant bacteria that lives in the hospital, and these little babies go home with it, and it starts to populate in their gut. And it wreaks havoc, not only on the gut, but also on the brain, and it starts causing emotional disruption. Now, if you're an adult that's had this over their life, and it's just this low-grade infection that's just hanging out, your depression, your anxiety, your mood, your insomnia might be coming from the gut. It might not be your fault. So we have to test for these things. Another tricky one is inability to heal cuts or wounds. And then enzymes and probiotics don't help. So when my husband was dealing with SIBO and he had just severe acid reflux, he always thought he was having a heart attack. It was miserable. He actually went to the emergency room because it was so bad. He was convinced he was having a heart attack. So that's what that SIBO was doing. The small intestines was producing so much bacteria and so much gas, it was just coming right up. So when you think acid reflux, you go, you're not digesting, you need enzymes. So I would be like, just go take enzymes, stop whining. Kind of a bad wife moment there, and I feel really bad for that. But it didn't work. And so that made us go, what's not working? Putting him on probiotics. So, it's not working. So no, you can't just take a probiotic and beat the bloat. I would love that. That would be amazing. We have to figure out what's actually going on. So let's get some testing done. Starting with a stool analysis is the best place, and a sample of blood work for anybody. And if you go through that SIBO checklist, I have one of those in my new patient files, and you come up big with that one, you can either do a breath test, or we could just start treatment right away for that. You don't have to play these roundabout games. So that rules out infection. All right, digestion, ooh, sexy. So top down, all the time. It starts with chewing. I yell at my husband and I yell at my kids, did you even chew your food? Your stomach does not have teeth, And guaranteed, if you have bloating or IBS, constipation, mucus, that your digestive system is so slowed down, you need all the help you can get. And then stomach, gallbladder, liver, pancreas, small and large intestine. So this is how we break down our food. What do we need to break down our food? So symptoms of acid reflux, gas and bloating, cravings, shoulder pain and back pain are really, really interesting triggers to go, you're probably not digesting your food. Where is this flare-up coming from? So you see the reason I started with infection is because you can have acid reflux from SIBO or any other infection. So if we just go down and attack it with enzymes and we ignore everything else, it's never going to get better until you heal that infection. So with gas and bloating, I wrote time it. If you have gas, whether it's coming up or going down, within like 20 to 40 minutes of eating, that's typically a reaction to carbs, carbohydrates, and sugars. Again, that's that small intestine bacterial overgrowth. So you know that you need to have more carb-supportive enzymes, and like amylase is a good one. So, and don't go out and just buy amylase. I don't think you even can, but you can use something like doTERRA's Terrazyme has that in it for you. If you have gas and bloating and cramping 2 to 3 hours after you eat and it's more lower bowel, that's more protein and fats not being digested correctly. So that's when we go to protease and lipase, work on the gallbladder, things like that. So timing when you're having your symptoms in relationship to your food is extremely important, as it helps us narrow down which organ is it. There's a new diagnosis out, exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. Really, really cute name. All it means is you're not making enough pancreatic enzymes, like amylase. It's so simple. You can literally go to doTERRA or so many other companies and it will have enzymes. You just take enzymes. That's all it is. You don't need a prescription. There's even no testing for it. It's just, hey, how are you feeling? So shoulder and back pain. This is how I figured out my gallbladder issue way too long ago. I think 14 years ago. So I always had right shoulder pain. And I was always thought, well, it's from swimming, it's tendonitis. And when I was at Logan, I was telling my friend, we were at a seminar, I was like, man, I have this pain along my brow line. I just need to be adjusted, but it never holds, and my neck hurts, and my shoulder. And I'm like, should I stop swimming? And he just laughs at me. He's like, no, wait for the next slide. And the next slide was about the gut and the gallbladder referring pain to the right shoulder. The stomach typically refers pain to the left shoulder. And think about it like this, that when you have a heart attack, you don't say, oh, heart. You say, oh, my left shoulder, oh, my chest, oh, my jaw, because our organs don't have the same pain receptors as our muscles do. And so the next thing is, if you're having that constant back pain, especially that brow line pain, it gets worse after you eat. What that means is your stomach is super inflamed. It can't digest the food. And so it's sending inflammation chemicals out to your spine to go up to your brain to say, hey, we could use some help. But when those compounds, those chemicals, those messengers get to your spine has the receptors for that inflammation, and all those muscles seize up. And so you go to the chiropractor, you go get a massage, you say, oh, that's great. And then you go to dinner and you're like, oh, it's back. And that's why. So if you're having recurrent pain that's not being helped by traditional supportive therapies like chiropractic, manipulation, massage, PT, there's something else going on. We have to address the organs. All right, testing and support. So we talked about enzymes. Another good trick at home is to do the apple cider vinegar test, where you take like a tablespoon of it before you eat. And if it causes your stomach to become more acidic, you probably have too much acid in your stomach. If it helps and you feel better, you probably need more enzymes. So 90%-ish of people who have acid reflux have it because they don't have enough acid in their stomach. So if you don't have enough acid in your stomach, the food will just sit there and it will literally just rot, create its gas. Your small intestines don't want to take it, so it's going to come up. And that's where that burping comes in, that acid reflux, that pain. So I wrote down 4 squared breathing here as a support, because when we're high stress, when we're on the go, when we're moving too much and we're not taking a break to actually sit down, calm our bodies, our nervous system can't handle it. So we have two parts of our nervous system, our sympathetics, which are fight or flight, our parasympathetics, which are wine and dine. So if you're in the sympathetics, that fight or flight and that stress, you don't need to be digesting food because you're running from a bear, something's really wrong, and let's just survive. So if you're not turning on your digestive power, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to lose weight. You're not going to digest your food. You're not going to assimilate. You're not going to have energy. You're not going to grow hair. Now, the parasympathetics, the wine and dine, that is what turns our digestive power on because we're relaxed, we're rested, we're in a space where we're safe and we're comfortable. Now, you can do this sitting in a chair. You can do this at your desk. The point that I really learned with food is just to be sitting. So 4 squared breathing is a great way to time your breathing before you sit down to eat, to reset your nervous system and to really turn on those parasympathetics. So you do breathing for 4 counts. So you take a deep breath in for 4 counts, hold it for 4, let it out for 4, and hold it for 4. And just do that for a couple cycles until you're like, okay, I can eat, I can be present. You can put your phone down, you can put your laptop away, you can just focus on the food. You can focus on chewing. I swear to you, it's going to make a major difference in how your gut feels and your bloating is going. That's when you're going to lose the weight. And that's when your body's going to start using all of that really good nutrition that you're trying to put into it. And honestly, the 4 squared, I don't care. Like some people like 3, 5, 7. Everybody has a different number. Just start breathing. That would be a good help. All right, let's talk about food, what everybody wants to talk about, but really, really struggles with. So I eat healthy, but I can't lose weight. We already talked about eating too little, eating too much. I eat unhealthy processed foods marketed as healthy, like low fat or gluten-free. Those are still chock full of chemicals. They're not the best thing to rely on. If you're going gluten and dairy free, low fat just has too many chemicals on it. That's going to pack into your fat. Problem number 4, I eat foods that my body is sensitive to. 1, we don't know that our body's sensitive to it. 2, we ignore all the warning signs that our body is screaming, please, for the love of God, don't eat this. Problem number 5, I eat foods that my body can't handle because of an underlying issue like SIBO or colitis. So let's start with the symptoms that you might notice. A cold nose. How cute is that? You're like, oh, right? Because if your nose is cold, it's an immune response that's constricting blood vessels to protect your body. Lower extremities after eating. And this is really good to track as well. So say you eat lunch, you have your meal, and afterwards you're like, I could just take a nap. I am so tired. I can't think straight. My heart is racing. Heart race is a big one. So we know the big signs like gas, bloating, reflux, but how do you feel? Are you energized? Are you clear-headed? If you're not, then you're eating the wrong foods for your body type. Now you can do a food sensitivity test, only do blood. I highly recommend that. I tried the hair analysis one, it was worthless. You can do elimination diets, but the problem with elimination diets is that our immune system really only has 2 parts to it, IgE and IgG. And there's the immediate reaction where you eat bread, your nose gets cold, you get a headache, your throat tightens up, and you're like, I must be sensitive. And then there's a delayed reaction where you eat the food, and then about 2 or 3 days later, you're tired, you're cold, you're cranky, and like, I don't know what's going on. So the elimination diets don't necessarily catch those delayed reactions. So food sensitivity testing through blood is really, 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 really important. The other thing is that dairy and gluten are the devil, and I'm sorry. And so we're going to get to why I say that in a little bit, to be a little bit more specific for you. But I can't tell you how many people who are my patients who eat ice cream every night. And God bless, I understand, it's delicious. And this is a judgment-free zone. The problem is they don't realize how sick it's making them, because I think we just live with a level of pain and a level of illness for so long. I am, and I talk about this often, like, it's just, we just get so used to it, it's our normal. I had a patient who was waking up every day coughing and hacking and just full of mucus and phlegm, and her asthma medications weren't working, and the oils weren't working for asthma, and she was just so confused, and her, oh, like, what do I even do? When I looked at her foods, well, you got to cut out dairy. So if you're eating dairy every night and then you have the silent acid reflux, it's actually the reflux that you're breathing in all night that's irritating your lungs. You wake up, you cough. And so other patients that can't believe that they're not waking up with headaches anymore after not eating ice cream. So again, no judgment, is all about being aware. How's your body responding? So you can follow any diet plan you want. That doesn't mean that it's the answer for you. You have to follow the plan that works for your body. Some people are just fine with gluten. I don't really believe it, but you have to figure that out for you as well. And then the other thing too is that I realized on my journey is I was eating perfectly healthy. I was eating eggs with Brussels sprouts and cauliflower for lunch. And what I didn't realize until I started tracking my symptoms, tracking my food, tracking the time, that those super healthy things were actually causing my bloating and my pain and my total gut disruption. And so I had to cut out eggs. I had to cut out roughage. I had to cut out salad. And so as we're healing and things are changing, I'll be able to add those in, and so will you. But that doesn't mean that every diet's good for you. So if you're like, I'm just going to juice for 8 days straight, let's see what happens. That doesn't mean it's good for you just because everybody else is doing it. So be really aware of your symptoms. I don't have my book up here to show you guys. I was talking to another health coach, and she's like, look, I had to write down all of my stuff and all of my symptoms, and like, I feel really like self-conscious showing you. And I picked up my binder, my daily planner, and I had 3 pages of food, symptoms, research, what's triggering, what time, where's my anxiety at. So tracking is so important. All right, let's go into structure a little bit. I borrowed this from Dr. X. Thank you very much, Dr. X. It's because it's such an easy to understand visual of our structure of our intestines. So a couple of years ago, leaky gut was just this woo-woo thing, and now leaky gut is a testable, certifiable issue that we can manage for ourselves and for our patients. So what leaky gut is, if you look on the left side of the screen, it's a healthy gut, and then as you go towards the middle, you can see these are starting to break apart. Let me see here. Draw. Starting to break apart right there. And then now we have all this space. And that's what leaky gut is. There's a marker, a protein in here. And really right here is called zonulin. And that protein opens and closes this. So that's what we test for, as well as some other inflammation markers. So what happens is all of these things, toxins, microorganisms, gluten, come through back into our bloodstream, and it causes nutrient malabsorption because you're not getting all the food you need. This is why IBS and weight loss are so interrelated, because you can't lose weight if you're not getting good nutrition in. Autoimmune, oh my goodness, all day long. Food intolerance, which is obvious. This is also what we talked about a little bit earlier with that axis. The blood-brain barrier gets breached, and then we create inflammation. And this is what we live like for so long. So the food intolerance happens when we eat the same thing every day, all day long, because, I'm going to start erasing here. When our immune system starts to pick up on these things, it goes, oh, okay, no big deal, got it. And then you eat it again, it comes through, and your immune system goes, I think we're under attack. So it starts creating markers against these things like gluten. It starts creating markers against blueberries. So you have to be really careful. We call this autointoxicity as well, especially for women who have hormone problems, PMS, perimenopausal, dying if you're postmenopausal, because our gut carries out our hormones. So our liver will process our hormones when we're done with them, and then it packages them up, puts them into the gallbladder, and then we eat food. The gallbladder releases the bile with the packed up hormones, the packed up toxins, the packed up microorganisms, and it gets molded into our stool. Now, if all of those things aren't molded into stool, it just goes right back into the blood. And that's when we have estrogen dominance, testosterone issues, progesterone issues, and we just overly inflame our body. So hormones are another problem here as well. So this is really important, and this is the why of why we say no gluten. The molecular structure of gliadin, the protein portion of gluten, closely resembles that of the thyroid gland. When gliadin breaches the protective barrier of the gut, aka leaky gut that we just looked at, and enters the bloodstream, the immune system tags it for destruction. So what happens if your immune system is trained to fight gluten and gliadin, but gliadin looks so much like your other organs, like your thyroid, like the lining of your gut, like the blood-brain barrier, and it goes, I'm trained to attack this, I will attack. Well, that's where all these autoimmune issues are coming from. This is why it's so difficult to treat the autoimmune issues, because it's coming from the gut. It's coming from the immune system being trained incorrectly. It's coming from the immune system being overreactive, because all day long we're eating gluten, all day long we're eating dairy, all day long we're inflamed. So there's a reason that we try so hard to be gluten-free. And the reason is to protect our bodies, to protect our organs from inflammation like this. I'm not just trying to be super mean, I know. So inflammation, and it's such a general term that I almost hesitate to put it in here. So when we think inflammation, to me, I think redness, I think pain, I think it's something people talk about, but they don't really know what it is, because no one can really describe it unless you're using physiological terms like interleukins and cytokines, and we don't have to go there, because inflammation is lifestyle, stress, how are you sleeping, is it coming from your environment, are we over-medicated, and even overtraining. So overtraining, moving too much, will actually negatively impact your cortisol, shut down your adrenals, and actually shut down your gut as well. So again, I have symptoms like pain and swelling, joint inflammation, but this inflammation, again, think of when your immune system gets overly triggered. We're talking autoimmune issues, food sensitivity, leaky gut, allergies, adrenal fatigue, thyroid symptoms. So the way we support this is doing basic blood panels. And what I love doing basic blood panels is because from a functional range, we can see things so much more clearly. So when I had my blood work done in November of last year, I came back pretty healthy from a medical standpoint because the ranges are so large. But when I got to look at it, I said, wow, I have a lot of hypoglycemia issues going on. I have some adrenal fatigue issues going on. I definitely had something going on with my iron. So I was able to pick and pull out from a functional standpoint, like what's actually going on in my body. I'm not sick, but there are some issues happening here. So I was able to catch that. And my cholesterol was high, I think it was 220, not horrible, not life-ending. I wasn't thrilled with it, to say the least, but knowing I have gallbladder issues, that's one of the reasons why. And so I have here under the support resveratrol, turmeric, and glutathione. Those are the heaviest hitters for inflammation. And these are the things that got my cholesterol down under the 200s and pretty quickly. I could talk about 2 hours about this, so if you have questions you want to talk about them more, just let me know. But just keep in mind, inflammation is really where that gut pain comes from, where the chronic illness comes from, where the autoimmune issues come from. And it's that axis of all of these organs and systems not talking to each other, not being healthy, not knowing what to do. All right, hormones. This is not in the pillar, but I wanted to talk about this a little bit because it is so important to weight loss and gut health. So to clear hormones, you need glutathione, stable blood sugar and a healthy gut. This essentially should say what you need to do to lose weight is glutathione, stable blood sugar, and a healthy gut. So that stable blood sugar is a hormone issue, right, because of insulin. But insulin will also help balance cortisol and testosterone. Oh, Beth says, great info. What is your favorite resource for rotation diets? I will send you the link to, let me write this down. I have a file that I use from Genova Diagnostics on the rotation diet. So I'll get that to you. Good question. Thank you. I like that. Okay, so hormones. Oh, symptoms, pain, same. Again, pain, inflammation, insomnia, anxiety, panic attacks, brain fog, osteoporosis, adrenal fatigue, thyroid symptoms. And when it comes to weight loss, when the adrenals wipe out and we go through hormone issues, the liver gets backed up, the gallbladder gets backed up, the gut becomes incredibly inflamed and unhappy, IBS, bloating, not being able to digest, you're not digesting your proteins, your fats, your carbs, feeling really distended, and then you can't lose weight because everything's just hanging out. And that autotoxicity where everything's going back into your bloodstream, like the hormones. And then our hormones get packed in the fat because our body can't get rid of them. So it goes, well, let's just store it in your belly and your hips and your arms. We'll keep it safe for you. Don't worry. So we have to look at hormones from a perspective of how are you doing throughout the month? If you're peri or postmenopausal, where are you? What's going on? And why? Is it the testosterone